Hey everyone, it's Mike from Destinations to Travel coming to you live today from Universal Studios, Florida. Sorry, I just wanted to get out of the sun for a little bit. I didn't want to overheat my phone right off the bat here. But as you can see, we are at Universal Studios, Florida. Hey Randy. No, I'm by myself today. We are going to be taking a walk around Universal Studios for an update on Halloween Horror Nights. That is our specific focus today. You can see a bunch more props have popped up. We actually have the entire lineup announced for Universal Studios Florida's Halloween Horror Nights. So we're going to take a walk around, look at all the props. Just wanted to hang out here for just another minute, let people join in. But yeah, hope everyone's having a great week so far. Hope everyone's ready to jump into the spooky season because we are full go in just about a week. September 2nd, Friday, September 2nd, will be the start of Halloween Horror Nights here at Universal Studios Florida, which is next Friday. So let's go ahead and take a walk around Destinations to Travel. Hi, Hope says I'll be there with you soon. Is that Shannon? I assume it's Shannon. Hi, Shannon. So yeah, as you saw at the beginning of this video, we started off with a look at this big, nasty looking pumpkin. So we know this scare zone here. Give me just a second. I have all the scare zones written down. This one is going to be called Horrors of Halloween. It is Shannon. Hi, Helen. Thanks for joining. So this one is going to be called Horrors of Halloween. So I learned recently that the whole theme of this year's event, more or less, is going to be classic Halloween. With it being year number 31. This is HHN 31 here at Universal Studios Florida. So obviously 31, also the date of Halloween, October 31st. So they decided to really lean into classic Halloween. And so Horrors of Halloween will be this first scare zone here that welcomes you in. And it is actually going to be the return of the Pumpkin Lord, a character who debuted last year in the Wicked Growth House. And he is going to be bringing all of the evil of Halloween to this year's event. So you can see this whole big setup here. This will welcome us into Halloween Horror Nights. You can see there is a 31 etched into this fence over here. And you'll have some scare actors hiding around the corners. Lots and lots of props have been added since our last time out, by the way. So, hi, Jenny. Yeah, I can't wait for everyone, for most of the Destinations to Travel family at least, to come out and experience Halloween Horror Nights for a lot of us for the first time. So I'm really looking forward to that. So you got all of these pumpkins up here. Like I said, the Pumpkin Lord will be sort of the icon, more or less, of this year's event. So lots of really cool details in this zone too. You got this candy themed thing here. Oh, okay. I'm seeing now what's going on. So we have the names of all the scare zones. We'll walk around and see what props we can find in all of them. But this zone is sort of a table of contents for the event. Almost every year, not necessarily every year, but sometimes they like to do it that way. And this will kind of tease what they have in every zone. This one being a tease for Sweet Revenge, the zone that will be over in New York. Lots of candy theming to it. And then we've got Scarecrow, one of the other zones at this year's event. And I'll talk more in detail about all these zones when we get to them later on. but we also have a graveyard themed one over here and a witch themed one over here. So you see they sort of tease all of the other 4 scare zones. There are 5 scare zones in total throughout the park. So this is sort of the tease of the rest of the event. All right, let's move on through here. And like I said, we have the full lineup for this event now. Last time we were out here, maybe 3 weeks ago, we didn't really know much. We knew, I think, about 4 houses. And now we have the whole lineup of 10, the 5 scare zones that I already mentioned, and 2 shows. So lots of information about Halloween Horror Nights in today's video. How many of you out there are planning on visiting for Halloween Horror Nights? And if you are, is it your first time? I'm really excited to see who's visiting for the first time this year. You can see, by the way, some details for Halloween Horror Nights, even just at the food trucks. Spooky little booth there. There's going to be a lot of food and drink booths around the park as well. If I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, I apologize, but hi, Theta. Jess, I know you're visiting. I know you're going to be here for that. Okay, so, and Jenny will be visiting for the first time, so I'm really excited, like I said, for a lot of the Destinations to Travel family to be visiting for Halloween Horror Nights. We're going to have a lot of coverage from Universal in October for you guys. Okay, so this is usually, and almost definitely will be, one of the queues for one of the Halloween Horror Nights houses. We don't have a map, so we don't know exactly where all of the houses will be just yet, but I want to share some information on some of the houses, and I actually have images I can pull up for you. Just bear with me for just a second here as I try to find them all. Okay, so let's see. We've got, let's start off with some of the big IP houses, some of the big, houses based on movies and TV and even music this year. And that means we have The Weeknd, the After Hours Nightmare. If you're not familiar with The Weeknd, he has a bunch of big songs out there right now, but his music videos are also very horror-based. So it's really interesting concept for Halloween Horror Nights this year. I'm very excited to see what that will bring us. And you'll typically see the big IP houses like The Weeknd or some of the other big ones up here in the front using this space, probably using a couple of the other spaces over in the corner, like you'll see right over here. So let's, again, I don't know exactly where these will be, but kind of just giving a general idea of all of the houses. And one of the other big IPs that you'll probably see up here at the front of the park somewhere is going to be Halloween, just classic Michael Myers, the original film. I'm so excited to see this one. Like I said, they're theming this year's event to classic Halloween, so why not go with the classic Halloween? While we're at it, let's just run through the other IP houses. And the other two are The Horrors of Blumhouse. This will bring the 2 recent horror films, Freaky, which was about 2 or 3 years ago at this point now, but also will bring you The Black Phone, which came out just a few months ago and is available to stream right now. So if you're going to do your Halloween Horror Nights homework, you can check out both of those movies. And then the final IP, if you want to call it that, it's kind of an original because it is Universal's IP, but that is the classic Universal Monsters Legends Collide, and this will feature Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy, as you can see on there. And they've really created a fun original story for this house that I'm really excited about. The Mummy is the keeper of an amulet, and this amulet can essentially grant the wish of either of the other 2 monsters. Dracula, it would allow him to go outside during the day, and for the Wolfman, it would cure his moon curse. So both of them are going to be going after the amulet while the Mummy is trying to protect it. So a really cool original story there. Hello, Facebook user. If I remember correctly, I think that's Patrick. All right, so before we head back into the New York Scare Zone, which will be called Sweet Revenge, I got a couple of food and drink booths out here, and it looks like they have actually even prepared, like I mentioned the last time we were out here that this area over here is typically used for a bar during Halloween Horror Nights, and you can see the bar is set up. You can actually even see a few taps. Looks like they have maybe a couple Oktoberfest type of beers over there. And then we have the food and drink booths here. No menus or anything just yet. We'll probably get that early next week would be my guess. But I really like the theming on these two. This sort of monster house look is really cool. And then we actually have a few more over here too that I have not seen yet. Let's go check those out. By the way, you can see the queue extending outside right now for Transformers. It is a pretty busy day here at Universal. I was actually surprised some of the wait times are pretty long. You got sort of what looks like an alien theme almost to this one, or maybe zombie, I don't know. And then you got a vampire one here. Again, no menus yet, but these booths have like no specific like food themed or food themes to them. So I'm really interested to see what they decide to do, because they could really go a lot of different directions with these booths over here. Oh, and again, Facebook user, which confirmed is Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. The Monsters House will carry over to Hollywood too, part 1 in Orlando and part 2 in Hollywood. Yeah, I really like the way they're doing that this year. That's a really cool way to tell this story. So I'm excited to check out both. I will get out to Hollywood at some point, hopefully, and check out this year's event there as well. I will definitely be here for sure. Plenty of times we'll bring you some live streams from this year's event here at Universal Studios Florida. One more food booth over here in the New York area, sort of just like a Grim Reaper theme. You can see the Reaper up there in the middle window. And now we're going to come out into Sweet Revenge, the New York scare zone over here. So I think on our last video I was talking all about it. They started telling the story of this scare zone in the tribute store before they closed the summer tribute store. And essentially there was this theater. The owners went missing, and there was a bunch of candy found in their offices. The son then took over the ownership of the theater, and essentially later on it was found out to be not such a good guy. And then the mayor of the city decided to run this Halloween event and hire a candy company called Major Sweets to help run the event. And some horrible things happened. The candy started turning the children into killers. And so we had a big Halloween massacre. And that's where we're going to be at with this story here. We're going to be visiting for this Halloween festival. So I'm really excited for this one. I thought the storytelling has been so good for this. It's been awesome, really creative. Can't wait to see what this scare zone is like. And of course, as we saw a little bit, here is the tribute store, which is not open just yet. We'll probably open maybe a day or two before Halloween Horror Nights begins. But we saw the summer tribute store, which had the E.T., Jaws, and Back to the Future theming. That has since closed and is now being turned into the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store. And some of those details I was talking about can be found right out here, these newspaper clippings that tell you this story. Oh, Rob makes a good point. Thinking it's crowded for the Northeast's last chance for summer vacation. Makes sense. By the way, this is one of the details a lot of fans are going sort of crazy about right now. The Dead Coconut Club. References to this have popped up both here and over at the All Hallows Eve boutique in Islands of Adventure. The Red Coconut Club can be found out on City Walk. And so they're potentially referencing something coming, but it also might just be a fun little nod that doesn't really mean anything. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Maybe we had a Dead Coconut Club out there. Maybe like a Halloween Horror Nights themed store or some sort of experience. I don't know. If so, it'd be really cool because that space is not really used for anything right now. So give us more Horror Nights. So the New York scare zone is the biggest one. There's just a lot of space here. Ooh, new detail I'm noticing. So we noticed recently that these strings of lights have been out here for a while, but there were no bulbs in them. And now you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I can clearly see that there are colorful bulbs red, green, yellow, blue. I expected it to just be orange bulbs, but they're going for a colorful look, I guess. So now that is ready to go. I'm excited to see what this looks like all lit up. You can see there is still some work happening on some of the pavement over here in the New York zone. Probably see a few more of those throughout the park as well. You got these pumpkin guys on the lighting poles over here, all down the street. And then over here in Sting Alley, they're actually using this space for what looks like another food booth. So you can see this is where you will order. And then right back here, actually got a full kitchen going on. You can see some fryers. I'm sure there's gonna be something we're gonna wanna try back here. They don't normally use this space. Looks like there's a little bar space over here too. They don't normally use this space for Halloween Horror Nights, so I'm excited to see what they do with this over here. So there you go. That was Sweet Revenge. That's the New York themed scare zone. So that's 2 of the 5 scare zones down that will be featured at this year's event. And again, we talked about 4 of the 10 houses. There are actually going to be 6 original houses at this year's event. So I'm excited to check those out. I'll explain a little bit more as we get over to some of the other areas for the houses. Again, we don't know where the houses will be located yet. We don't have a map, but kind of just giving you a general idea of where you'll find the house locations. You're gonna see a bunch of these booths pop up all over the place. These will mostly just be generic bars. You'll come and get some different types of beers, and then they'll have typically like 4 specialty cocktail, like pre-mixed cocktails that you can get in your, your favorite Horror Nights Blinky cup. Sorry, the music is really loud over here for some reason. But yeah, you'll see those bars pop up around. Typically, they do not offer specialty food or anything. It's just drinks. You can see another food truck out here still offering the summer menu, although it looks like it's closed. But they do have a spooky theme to the front here. So I'm guessing the... what was it? Welcome Back Summer or something like that. Those offerings are done, and they will be transforming these food trucks for some Halloween Horror Nights food offerings. By the way, if you are visiting for Halloween Horror Nights, I know you're thinking it's a fall, it's a Halloween event, September, October, it's not going to be as hot. It is. It's not going to get too much better. The nice thing is the sun won't be up for most of the event if you're visiting for Horror Nights, but it's going to be hot. So just be prepared for that. All right, we are entering the next zone here. This one is called Conjure the Dark. And this is going to be a witch-themed zone. Again, going to that classic Halloween theming. You can see a lot more props out here. Last time we were out here, this prop was just put up, and we had the cauldron, but we didn't have this big door or whatever this is under tarp. So you're going to see a little bit of a show over here. It looks like there's going to be something going on. Oh, Lou says the 3rd week usually turns nice, meaning 3rd week of October. Yeah, which means, you have like a 2-week window of nice weather for Halloween Horror Nights. But, that's Florida. Some more props have popped up recently for this scare zone over here. And this actually seems like a good time to go ahead and talk about one of the houses. So again, 6 original houses will be featured during this year's event. And bear with me as I try to find the specific one I wanted to talk about. I believe this is it. Nope, that is not it. But we'll talk about this one too, because I should have talked about it over in New York. Descendants of Destruction is set in a post-apocalyptic New York where humans have descended down into the subway system and are over time mutating to become these horrible creatures. So we will start right as humans are getting down there trying to survive, and then see them mutate over time as we go through the house. So I'm really excited to check that one out. Should be a lot of fun. Let me see if I can find the other one that I wanted to talk about. Oh, I don't know what happened, but it doesn't look like I have an image for it. Yeah, sorry. There's a witch-themed house, and it is. I don't have the name of it off the top of my head, but it is something Coven, Curse of the Coven, something like that. But basically, you are set. It's set in a 1920s speakeasy, where you will walk in, thinking you're going into this fun themed bar experience, only to find out that it's actually witches that are running the bar, and they are turning you into their witch's brew. So it becomes a bit of a trap, and so we have a little bit of this witch theme going on over here. So yeah, those are two of the original Descendants of Destruction, and then the Coven. And like I said, we have 4 more original houses. I'm really excited because they usually do a really, really great job with their original houses. It's awesome what this creative team can do here, coming up with these completely original stories. So you saw we have this big wall here with a whiteboard out here. That means gonna be a menu in there. And you actually can follow these pillars back here to a themed bar or some sort of food and beverage booth. And this will also follow the witch theme here. Let's see so here is the full bar, and then you can see sort of the rooms. And this is back behind Lombard, so you actually have, oh wow, I didn't realize this was back here. We got some more bars. Look at that. Whole lot of bar offerings. So I guess they have taken note of the fact that people want to visit the bars at Halloween Horror Nights. Oh, Jess has it for me. Spirits of the Coven is the name of the witch house. Thank you. And we can see they will have strongbow and harp on tap over here. Usually a good variety of beers during Halloween Horror Nights. Also just a nice view back here. The part of the park that I don't typically come visit, and I should more often because it's nice back here. But this will be a little bit of a busier area now that these bars are back here during Halloween Horror Nights. If anybody notices them. Might be the place to go to avoid the crowd to get your drink. So here you go, between the Scare Zone, Conjure the Dark, we saw over there, the house, Spirits of the Coven, and then these witch-themed bars, potentially food and beverage booths as well. We have a whole lot of like a witch corner over here. Again, we don't know where the houses will be located, but I would guess, with that being the exit, with Fast and Furious being used for one of the houses this year, I would guess that the witch house will probably be located over there, Spirits of the Coven. Kind of have a whole corner of the park witch themed, but I can't be sure. Again, Halloween Horror Nights begins September 2nd and runs on select nights through October 31st on Halloween. And those select nights are typically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They do mix in some Wednesdays. And of course, Halloween will be falling on a Monday this year, so that will be in there as well. Oh, Lou asked, what nights am I going? Most of them. I will be here quite often. Typically, I would say twice a week. sometimes more than that. And there are a lot of different ticket options, so you can find the best option for you, whether you want to buy a single night, if you want to buy something like Rush of Fear, which gets you in everything but the weekends. We do the Frequent Fear Plus, which gets you... Actually, I think they changed the terminology. I think it is Frequent Fear is the one that gets you without the weekends. Frequent Fear Plus gets you everything but Saturdays. And then there is the top of the line every night of the event. Oh, John says Blumhouse will be near the Fast and Furious, which is kind of a weird choice, but sure. Well, Lou, we will be doing some live streams from here, so if you can't get a chance to visit, at least you can live vicariously through our live streams. But by the way, if you are planning to visit for Halloween Horror Nights, you can head to d2travel.com or send us an email at info@d2travel.com, and we can start planning that for you today. All right, couple things over here. First, you see another themed bar here. Again, you'll probably just find some different types of beers, and then some of the specialty pre-mixed cocktails. No signage out here in front of the Fear Factor stage, but we do have the returning Nightmare Fuel show this year. That has been announced as well. That is sort of a dance / magic / pyro show. It's a little bit of everything. Oh, Rob has the other ticket offer for me. Rush of Fear is every night through September 25th. So there you go. So basically just the beginning of the event. But yeah, Fear Factor stage will once again play home to Nightmare Fuel. It's a fun show. I would recommend checking it out. It's difficult because if you have only one night, it can be tough to fit in everything, all 10 houses, seeing all 5 scare zones, seeing the 2 shows can be a little bit difficult. But you know, you might have to make some cuts. There is the option of express for the houses. That'll obviously save you a lot of time. But if you're going multiple nights, definitely you'll be able to knock out everything. Just 2 nights is all you need, I think, to really knock everything out. And that's without express. All right, I'm coming out this way because there is another themed food and beverage booth over here. And it is a giant pumpkin. So again, classic Halloween theme. No idea if this is tying into a house or what the menu will feature, but I'm excited for all of the offerings. They usually do a really good job. In recent years, at least, they've been doing a really awesome job with the food and beverage offerings for not just Halloween Horror Nights, but for the holidays, for Mardi Gras. So I'm excited to see what the menus feature at this year's event. And this is right between Springfield and London. You can find this giant pumpkin. You actually really can't miss it as you are walking from where we were coming from San Francisco. You could see the pumpkin across the water. You guys might have even caught it before we walked over here. Now, one thing I'm really excited about for this year's event is we've learned that Springfield will see the return of the chainsaw gangs. They typically have some chainsaw wielding killers over here, one way or another, usually like clowns or, you know, like a freak show or something like that. Last year they did not have them there though, so we didn't get to see anything crazy going on in Springfield, but they'll be back this year, so I'm really excited. This is one of my favorite areas to hang out, not just because Moe's and Dufftoberfest, but watching those people, the scare actors with the chainsaws are so much fun. Troy says you better have it all planned out when we're with you for one night. Yeah, we'll make it work, don't worry. We'll have plenty of experience with this year's event by then, no problem at all. Okay, so we're gonna come to this back corner here because not only do we see another themed bar, which like I said, you'll see them all over the park, probably a good 5 or 6 of them that are just these generic bars on top of the food and beverage booths. But this will be area where you'll find 2 more houses back here. And again, don't know exactly which ones will be where, but I have a feeling one of them will be bugs eaten alive. So yeah, a bug-themed house. I will admit, was not near the top of my list as they were first announcing the lineup. However, this house has been getting a lot of buzz, pun intended. People are really excited about this one because the creators were saying they've sought out to make the first house that people couldn't get through. They've said that they plan to stand outside the exit to this house and just see people's reactions as they are running out and screaming. And they themselves, even without performers in the house, were having a hard time just going through it. So I am so excited to see what this house entails now. Again, the bug theme, not necessarily my favorite, but there's, like I said, a lot of buzz. It's crawling up my list, pun intended again. So the other one I would guess would be back here. I don't know for sure, but Fiesta de Chupacabras. I'm expecting a really fun, like, Day of the Dead theme, you know, very colorful, nice house. The story of this one is there's a village that is throwing a party, and tourists flock to this party because it looks like a lot of fun. However, the village is simply using this as a trap, and they are essentially feeding the tourists to the chupacabras to, you know, protect themselves so the chupacabras don't come after them. So not only will we be running from chupacabras, but also the locals of this village who are trying to capture us and essentially feed us to chupacabras. So I'm expecting both of these houses back here. This corner, and interestingly enough, that corner, the houses are actually inside of tents. So you would think, you know, probably not going to be as good as the one in the soundstage. Not the case. That corner always gives us at least one, if not both, of the top houses every single year. There is always a great house back there in that corner. So I'm excited. We'll see what is actually located back there. But those two would be my guess. Like I said, walking through Springfield now. We'll have chainsaws back in here this year. I cannot wait for that. With it being a classic Halloween theme, what do you guys think? Like killer jack-o'-lantern? I don't know. Like, what do you do? Maybe just different classic Halloween type creatures like vampires and zombies? Can you have a zombie with a chainsaw? I don't know. All right, and as we pass through Springfield too, I want to point out, Stay and Scream is an option at Halloween Horror Nights as well. And whether you're an annual pass holder, if you have a full day ticket, or there is actually even a ticket option specifically for Stay and Scream, and it's only an extra $30 to add onto your Halloween Horror Nights ticket. So you do still have to have a Halloween Horror Nights ticket, but for $30 extra, you can add this Stay and Scream ticket. And what that gets you is you can enter the park at 3 p.m. So you can experience Universal before Halloween Horror Nights starts, which at 5 o'clock is when they'll sweep the park. So basically you get 2 hours to come in, jump on whatever rides you want to. And then at 5 o'clock, you go into one of the two Stay and Scream zones. Sorry, let me get away from people and noise real quick. So you can enter one of the two Stay and Scream zones, which one of them is here in Springfield, the other typically over in New York. I would imagine that'll still be the case this year. And you kind of just chill for an hour. And our go-to is here in Springfield. We hang out in Moe's. It is typically the less popular option. New York typically has the much bigger, more popular houses, so people tend to flock to that Stay and Scream. We prefer Moe's because, one, Dufftoberfest, and two, just a quieter experience, really. So you can take advantage of that with that Stay and Scream ticket as well. Hey, Jack. And you've heard me mention Dufftoberfest. I know people who have watched these videos are probably sick of me talking about it, but it is a seasonal beer that they offer here at Duff Gardens and in Moe's. And pretty straightforward, it's an Oktoberfest made specifically for Springfield. And it is so good. It's a great way to kick off your Halloween Horror Nights experience. All right, so let's keep on moving around the park here. We still have a couple houses to talk about. We still have 2 more scare zones to talk about. And before we even get to that, you'll see another themed food booth over here. Oh, also another show to talk about still, which I'm really excited about. So right over here by the DeLorean and the train from Back to the Future 3, we got another themed food booth. Which, does this color scheme seem familiar to anyone? Any horror fans out there? Especially if you've been coming to Halloween Horror Nights lately, they tend to tie in one way or another to the Chucky franchise. Not that there's a Chucky house or show or anything like that, but they have done a scare zone a couple years, 3 years back, 4 years back, I don't know, recently. And this has sort of the color scheme of the Chucky box, so I'm wondering if there's going to be some Chucky theming to this. Really interested to see what their food and beverage options are. Hopefully, like I said, the announcement of the menus should come fairly soon. The way these videos tend to work is that they will announce it tomorrow, but we'll see. Great tip from Rob, and this goes for just sort of in general, but speaking from experience, it's good to hydrate in the Florida heat before downing a couple of Dufftoberfests. Yeah, I think Dufftoberfests or not, go ahead and hydrate. Even before Halloween Horror Nights, I know the sun is down, you're still going to sweat. It's going to be hot. Definitely drink a lot of water. You can take advantage of you can bring an empty water bottle. You can take advantage of the Coke Freestyle machines around the park and fill up your water so you have it with you everywhere you go. And then, of course, any booth where they have soda fountains, you can always get a cup of water there as well. All right, so we see another themed food booth here, sort of scarecrow / jack-o'-lantern themed. And a couple more back here. This one almost looks like the Monsters Cafe in these windows here. But that also still has a little bit of that witch theme to it with these runes. Stained glass window sort of thing here. And then, of course, this is right next to Kids Zone Pizza, which is typically one of the locations where you would go to get your pizza fries, the staple of Halloween Horror Nights. Also, typically back here, one of these booths will have the Twisted Tater, which is another staple of the event. Troy asks, when is the first HHN? September 2nd here in Orlando. It runs September 2nd, select nights through October 31st. In Hollywood, September 8th is the first night, which is the following Thursday after the opening weekend here. And then same deal, that runs on select nights through Halloween. So what we will probably do, by the way, like I said, we're going to bring you plenty of coverage from Halloween Horror Nights. Because we're here this weekend, we'll probably bring you a video from somewhere else next week. And then maybe the second weekend, we'll get you some Halloween Horror Nights content coming your way. All right, so we are heading into the 4th scare zone here, and this is Scarecrow Cursed Soil. And a lot more has popped up in this zone, as you can see already. So Scarecrow Cursed Soil is continuing the story of a house they did back in 2017, which was Scarecrow the Reaping. By the way, that house will be brought over to Universal Hollywood this year. But here, we are getting a continuation of it in the form of a scare zone. And they're doing one thing here that I'm really excited about. So you got all these outhouses where scarecrows will hide to jump out at you. But scare zones are the streets, right? They are outside. It's a completely different experience from walking through a house. But look at this structure right over here. They are building a barn for guests to walk through in this scare zone. So it's almost like a little mini house. And they talked about this on the Discover Universal podcast. So they did let us know that it is a barn. And that is, by the way, the official Universal Orlando Resort podcast. So they did let us know there that this will be a barn. Guests will walk through, and you know, it'll be a scare zone, so it's not going to be entirely empty. We don't know exactly what's going to be inside, but they promised us some surprises, so I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be really, really cool. All right, so just outside of the barn, before we get over to the Hollywood area, we've got a couple more things to talk about. First is another themed food and beverage booth. And we got, like I said, we have the Fiesta de Chupacabras house, and I think this will continue the Day of the Dead theming over here. Oh, I just completely blanked on the other house locations, which are back where we were just a minute ago for the Kid Zone Pizza. Some more Day of the Dead. This will be a themed food and beverage location, so you'll find some specialty offerings here. But yeah, let's take this chance real quick. Let me step into the shade, and then we will talk about the final two houses, which again, one more disclaimer, we do not know where the houses will be located just yet. You know what? I'm going to walk away from the speakers, actually. Let's find a quieter spot. We don't know where the houses will be just yet, but that back area, I'm thinking something like Universal Monsters will be over there. Because they typically put some of the bigger IPs. It is the Parade building, so it's a very big location. That's one of them, at least. The other one is another soundstage. So actually, it's the old Parade building, I think. But regardless, it's a big location for them to build some really impressive houses. So typically, they will put some of the IPs back there. I think Universal Monsters will be one of them. We'll have to wait and see what the other one is. But let's go ahead and talk about the two remaining houses. And one of them is Hellblock Horror. This is a prison meant for monsters, aliens, and other dangerous creatures. And, you know, things don't always go right in theme park attractions. So you will have a prison where the prisoners are running loose, and you have to try and escape the prison just to survive. So what has been teased about this one is that we're going to see some familiar faces for Halloween Horror Nights fans. You know, we might see some creatures, might recognize some creatures from past events, so I'm really excited for that. Seems like a really cool concept. And then the big one, the one that I am most excited for, Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. So a few years back, actually before I started attending the event, so before 2017, there was a scare zone over in the San Francisco area called Dead Man's Wharf. And it was basically a little fishing village that has been overrun by these undead sailors. And now they are going to be featured in a house in a New England fisherman's village that has been overtaken by a winter storm. So really excited to see that. Every year, it's a little inside baseball, but every year there is one Halloween Horror Nights house that is more or less the pretty house. They do a really, really good job decorating one of them and usually create some really big, impressive facade. This is my pick for what this house will be. I think it's going to be the really visually impressive house. The one that you forget that you're in a haunted house and start looking around at the details, and then the scares come and totally catch you off guard. Can't wait for this house. This is the one I'm most excited for. I think it's going to be really, really awesome. And also, while I was talking about the Discover Universal, the official Universal Orlando podcast, they are doing sort of dramatic readings of original stories for all of these houses. They started off with this house, Dead Man's Pier. And so you can listen. It's about a 15-minute episode, and they give you an original story based on the house that'll add some context to it when you do get to experience it. So really, really cool. I definitely recommend checking that out. All right. Back to our lap around the park. Now that we are through all 10 houses, we have the Weekend After Hours Nightmare Bar. So a themed weekend bar here. No idea what they'll be offering just yet, but we should get the menus fairly soon. And then gotta come back a little bit here as we journey into the loud music of this remains of what was the Superstar Parade. Superstar Parade no longer an offering here at Universal Studios Florida, but they do still have the characters come out and do their thing on the streets in Hollywood. So here we go. Here is the second show, and this is Ghoulish, a Halloween Tale. This is the Lagoon show that we have every year. Interestingly, they ditched the Marathon of Mayhem title, but will be giving us the same sort of show, we think. We don't really know too much about it, but Ghoulish, a Halloween Tale is going to feature some music, some classic Halloween themes, and you can see 4 shows a night. It is a really, really cool projection show done on the lagoon over here, and you see the sign, which, first of all, I love this vinyl up here. That is really cool. But that guides you to the entrance over here. And if you've never seen Universal's Cinematic Celebration, their normal nighttime show, they do it right over here as well. And it's fireworks, it's projection, it's music, and it's sort of a summary of all of the movies they have in the park. But for Ghoulish, it's going to completely be taken over by Halloween themes, and you can see all of the fountains in there. Looks like they are preparing for Ghoulish. As Rob says, super hyped for this. I am in total agreement. The Lagoon Show is one of my favorite elements of Halloween Horror Nights. This is only the 3rd time they are doing one. Marathon of Mayhem has been so awesome. The first year especially was one of my favorite theme park shows anywhere. I can't wait to see what they do this year. John points out side 1, side 2 is interesting. Did it show that on the vinyl? Do we have 2 different versions of the show? That would be interesting. Oh, I see. Oh, for the show times. Side 1, side 2. Interesting. That might just be theming thrown in there, but still really cool. All right, we're back, everyone. Sorry about that. Remember I was mentioning how it's still hot during Horror Nights? Well, it's still August right now, so phone overheated. It's that hot out right now. We are back. I'm just going to hang out here for a minute. Let me know if you're hearing me, if you can see. We should be looking at some Halloween Horror Nights merchandise. I'll just hang out here, wait for a couple comments, make sure we are good. Thanks for sticking around, by the way, if you are still here. As soon as I started saying, all right, let's head through this last scare zone, the heat just overwhelmed my phone. Oh. Hello. All right, thanks, Rob. All right, I guess we are good now. Again, we are looking at some of the Halloween Horror Nights merchandise. Thank you, Troy. So here we go. We have scares at every turn. You can see sort of the classic Halloween. You got this witch, you got this scarecrow, jack-o'-lantern, ghosts, skeletons, and then this is the Pumpkin Lord, who we saw last year in the Wicked Growth House, and who will be featured in the Horrors of Halloween scare zone, right up at the front of the park where we started the video. Now you can get this design on the hoodie you just saw, then this t-shirt. And then there's a glass as well. Some of the other merchandise here, we have the 31 ornament. Really cool design. And then they have this flannel, which is going to be just one of the most popular items. Jess already got it. With this 31 on here with jack-o'-lanterns, witches, skeletons, black cats. Oh, the Bourne show is letting out right now, so it might get a little bit noisier in here. We saw some of this merchandise before. You can see the Universal Monsters glass and shirt. And then I think we have some more over here. Like I said, there's always a little bit of a tie to Chucky, and you do have a Chucky shirt and plush. And then you got another glass here with that 31 design. And you got the ornaments, you got the tumbler. Here's the front of that flannel, by the way. Let's see. All right, let's head out. The store's kind of getting overrun now with the guests exiting the Bourne Stuntacular. And we're going to head out into the final scare zone. Hopefully I can stay in shade enough that my phone doesn't overheat immediately. Oh, let me try and cross over. So this scare zone is called Graveyard Deadly Unrest. We saw some of the props for this pop up all the way back in July. But there are a lot more props now. Lots of cool details. And I mean, pretty self-explanatory scare zone, right? Like you're going to be walking through a graveyard with some undead creatures and souls. So we originally thought vampires with this theming here, but it is just graveyard themed. So I'm excited to see this one. And actually, one of the things that I'm really interested in is this statue over here. Because if they do living statue performers, those are going to result in some great scares. So I'm looking forward to that. This is one of the scare zones I'm most excited for, but the one in New York, Sweet Revenge, that is the one I'm really looking forward to. So that is it, guys. The 5 scare zones, 10 houses, 2 shows, tons of food and beverage booths all around the park, themed merchandise. It all starts September 2nd, which is next Friday, if you can believe that. We are a little over a week, 10 days? 10 days away from the start of Halloween Horror Nights. So it is right around the corner. Spooky season is upon us. And if you do want to visit Universal Orlando Resort for Halloween Horror Nights, you can head to d2travel.com. or send us an email at info@d2travel.com and we can start planning that for you today. As Rob points out, loving these extra themed scare zones without the parade this year. Like I said before, no Superstar Parade here at Universal Studios Florida means they can add some bigger props to the zones that are along the parade route and do so earlier than what they could have before. So now we have finished our loop. I would take you into the Universal Studios store, but we were here 3 weeks ago and I took a lap around before. Nothing new right now, but there will be some more Halloween Horror Nights merchandise popping up in the near future. So like I said, we'll get back out here after Halloween Horror Nights starts, and we'll be able to check out the tribute store. We'll be able to see all the scare zones. We won't be able to do any of the houses because unfortunately there is no recording in the houses, but we're going to get to see a lot of Halloween Horror Nights, and I can't wait to bring it to all you guys. I'm especially excited for anyone who's going to get a chance to visit this year and see Halloween Horror Nights for the first time, like Troy and Shannon and Jenny. Really excited for that as well. So again, thank you guys for taking a walk around Universal Studios Florida with me. We'll be back next week with another fun video. And then Halloween Horror Nights. So be sure to keep an eye out for the announcement of our next video. Be sure to follow on Twitter, like us on Facebook, our YouTube channel. Now you can go to youtube.com/D2Travel. You can find us very easily that way, so you can find all of the content. We do these live streams on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, so you can watch it any one you prefer. But we do have some additional content on our YouTube channel. Lots and lots of fun stuff going on there, so be sure to check that out. Like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And again, d2travel.com or info@d2travel.com if you want to start planning your next trip today. Aside from that, I will see you all real soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.